All right, we are back with Seminole sidelines after at least a almost 2 month hiatus for Mark Salva. He's back with us. Curt Weiler's back with us today as we start the Osceola's Seminole sideline spring previews, and we are going to start where we need to, and that's with the quarterbacks for Florida State. We're about less than 30 days away from the start of spring practice, a little bit over 45 days removed from the bowl game. So listen, we're starting to get fired up for spring football. Sometimes it feels like it takes an eternity between the last game and the first spring practice. With all that's been going on with other sports, including football recruiting, certainly seems like no time has gone on. But Curt, you actually wrote your article today for FloridaState.Rivals.com, TheOsceola.com, on the quarterback position for Florida State heading into 2023. Obviously, just 2 short years ago, Curt, we were asking ourselves questions here covering Florida State about whether they had a legit major college quarterback on its roster. Now they have arguably one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the nation returning for 2023 in Jordan Travis. And we'll talk about some of the other guys in the room, but just talk about your overall perspective going into next March spring practice period.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Florida State quarterback room, I think, is in good a spot as it's been since, I mean, you could make the case 2014, like kind of that second Jameis year. I mean, obviously Jordan becoming what he was, and not just becoming what he was. I think the biggest thing with Jordan last year was he made it through an entire season. He missed that half of the game at Louisville, but he was back the next week and played kind of the rest of every other game until they were out of hand. And I mean, you say top 10. I mean, I think it's higher than that. I think we can even lower that number a bit in terms of the competition he's in college football. But yeah, I mean, to have Jordan and then to have, I mean, 4 scholarship quarterbacks, you got through last year with 3 fine, but 4 I think is always a safer number for such an important and such a, everything hinges around that person quarterback. So I think the depth bringing in Brock Glenn and getting everyone else back is nice. And I mean, just the continued growth from Jordan continues to be a marvel, to be unlike many things we've seen from a quarterback in terms of development in Florida State football history.
Yeah, and we're going to get into a little bit of the rankings towards the end, have a little bit of fun with this, because I do think we all probably think that Jordan's above 10, definitely inside the top 10, but exactly where that is. So we'll have a little bit of fun with that. Mark, just your overall assessment of the quarterback room as they start to go into 2023. And just from your perspective, obviously Jordan is the guy. It's his team, will be until he's not here anymore. What do you look for as far as his improvement as he gets ready to enter his senior year?
Well, Jordan for us is the difference maker. He takes us from a very good team to a great team, possibly, right? Potentially. He's the guy that, when we've had the national championship success that we've had, it's always been because we had Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, an exceptional quarterback. And he has the potential to be that, taking his game to the next level. Now, where can he improve? Well, let me tell you something. The thing that's been most impressive to me about him is how he's taken ownership of the position in the whole offense and really lead the leadership mantle of this team, put it on his shoulders, accepted the responsibility, and has mastered the offense. I mean, this guy, from everything I've ever heard come out of Atkins and Norvell's mouth, is that he puts us in the right plays, the right runs, the right passes. I mean, he's mastered the offense. So he's got that part down, and he'll only get better having that coach mentality, that coach on the field mentality. So that, to me, is a huge, huge thing. The other thing, I think the thing where maybe we can expand this offense if you want to. There's so much talent around him, and that's the thing that's really excites you about this, is that you can't on him. With the addition of Jaheim Bell and Morlock and the tight ends that we now have, that intermediate passing game. He does really well in the RPOs and the skinny posts down the middle and stuff, but maybe having more of a mid-range passing game, timing on the throws, location of those throws. He throws a great deep ball. He throws a great deep corner route in that hole. He throws the skinny posts really well. He throws the swing routes really good. Now let's get that intermediate passing game with the tight ends and the backs involved and be a little more, just another facet to this offense. I think that could be the place to where this could really improve, because he this offense gives you problems all over the field, and it starts with Jordan Travis. And as far as the rest of the quarterback room, right? I mean, Tate showed us he can do it for a half, and that's great, and he's had some real success. But you just don't know if it was all on him. But the thing is, there's enough pieces around him. He doesn't have to be Jordan Travis. I think they're good enough to win.
Yeah, and I think one of the more interesting things for Jordan this spring will be getting comfortable with those new pieces, right? The Kyle Morlocks, Jaheim Bells, Akeem Williams, just rep after rep, getting timing. I think that's as big as anything, because we know they're going to come in and use some of those guys are going to play automatically once they get on campus. You would think Kyle and Jaheim certainly are going to be guys that will be in your 2 deep by the time we get to the fall. Hakeem Williams, obviously is the most talented player they've signed. And so listen, I think that's going to be a big part of what's important for Jordan Travis. I do think that obviously every snap, I think that you could have a legitimate battle between all three of the young quarterbacks, Tate, Brock, and of course AJ. AJ and Brock came in highly regarded. One of these, at some point, they're going to bring in one of these guys that actually will compete, as a redshirt or a true freshman coming in early. But just your thoughts on the backup quarterbacks, Mark. What are you looking for if you're Tony Tokarts and Mike Norvell? How do you want those guys to distinguish themselves in the spring practice period where they know that they are going in just competing for a backup position?
Yeah, well, the great thing about this offense, Tate can be Tate, and with the pieces around him, he can execute the offense the way it's meant to be and have the things that he likes to do. I'm sure there's packages that he likes better and different that he can execute those, and we can be successful on offense. For the two younger guys, I mean, they're going to be battling to learn the offense, to get acquainted with leading the offense, the terminology, the pace, getting in and out of plays, checking plays, all that stuff. That's a big ask, especially for a true freshman, and even a redshirt freshman. It's still a big ask. So those two are going to be competing. I guess the big question is, coming out of the spring, if one of those two separates from the other, and I'm talking about Brock and AJ Duffy. If one of those two separates one, do they both stay? Because you got that second transfer window. Would they both stay? I hope they do. I hope that they continue to develop. I mean, what other offense are you going to go that highlights a quarterback like this one does? With the balance that we have. So that would be the question for me.
Yes, I think the use of oars is going to be very important in the spring practice, post-spring practice depth chart. I mean, because I have the same thing I have the same question you do, Mark, and I'm sure Kurt's got it too. Listen, if for whatever reason, if Tate Rodemaker were to end up third on that depth chart coming out of spring, is he a guy that considers the portal? So yes, and listen, that's the new reality. These post-spring portals, we're going to see it all over the place, not only at quarterback and not only in Tallahassee, but all over college football. Kurt, just your thoughts on what you're looking for out of the young guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see Brock Glenn. It's always, all eyes on the new quarterback coming in. And he was, we talked to him a few weeks ago now, and he was pretty candid about knowing, I'm not going to play this year outside of maybe getting in some late game situations, kind of maximizing the 4 games you can play while redshirting. But I think, for him, he admitted, he's like, I think it's really valuable that Jordan's back. And I maybe didn't know that was going to happen. And to where other quarterbacks may not see that as a good thing, I think for the spot he's in right now, he's going to get a year to learn under Jordan. And I think that can be very valuable for him. I think the thing for AJ, the AJ Duffy, for as much as we got to watch practice last year, I think there were days where, he had the best throw of the day. I think the thing for him entering year 2 now with the greater understanding of his teammates, greater understanding of the playbook is, does he take the next step in his consistency? Because that was where I would say he lacked behind both Jordan and Tate, especially as the fall went on last year. I think the freshman wall is real, and I think he hit a bit of it at a certain point. And so I think the reset can be good for him, because I think this spring, looking ahead more to 2024 than this year, although I guess, for the competition of who the battle is, for AJ's sake, you'd hope he's competing more with Tate
Yep.
than with Brock Glenn. That would kind of be a bit condemning of AJ's potential here. If it's more he's battling with Brock Glenn and Tate's kind of the clear number 2. So I think it's a pretty important offseason for AJ. And Tate, I mean, it was great. I didn't get very few people. I would say, Pat, you're one of the few. We were up there together at Louisville who kind of had confidence that that Tate had that in him. I think a lot of people had kind of lost that. And so obviously it was great. I mean, to have the game he did at Louisville, I mean, that was unlike anything we'd seen from him. And what does he do now? I mean, this is year 4 for him. He's a redshirt junior all of a sudden, kind of later in his career than you'd think. So, I mean, he's not going to push Jordan, but can he look close to Jordan in practice? Can he look like a guy who can be the heir apparent, or is it going to become more clear of we probably need to maybe bring a transfer in at this time next year?
Yeah. Listen, I agree with you on Tate. It's a big spring for him to solidify himself as the definitive number 2. And as we've seen in years past, every year since we've been covering Osceola, they've used more than one quarterback in any given season. So establishing that a clear-cut choice at number 2 for this team will be highly important, because as we will see when we start getting into the rest of these previews as we get closer to spring, there's some talented people that these quarterbacks will have to work with and around them. And they are actually, and we'll get into it later, I don't want to get into it right now, but certainly we have a feeling that they could be deeper than they've ever been at all positions on this offense as Jordan Travis enters his 3rd season as the full-time starter at Florida State. I do want to ask you guys this about Jordan. Obviously, he had a cool trip out to the Super Bowl this week. He and Trey Benson, the product of, I don't know if that's the NIL or the collective. I don't know who's responsible, but anyway, pretty cool trip that they were able to set up that for those guys. And but I do want to ask you guys about this. We bragged about the way Jordan played long before he started having major league success on the field. We talked about that even in 2020, that he played like a warrior. But just in y'all's opinion, just gonna ask you this. What is his greatest strength? Is it his physical skills, his tangibles, or is his intangibles, the way he leads, the way he carries himself, all of those things? And maybe at this point, you may not can have one without the other, but just your thoughts on, is it, we certainly know it's a combination of the two, but if you had to pick one of those two things, what would you say, intangibles or tangible strength?
For me, it's his intangible. It's his competitiveness. For me, that dude's a competitor. Like I said, he takes responsibility and he puts the team on his shoulders. And he's come through, especially late in the year. He's come through with flying colors, right? And to me, that separates him from other guys. There's lots of guys just as talented, if not more talented than he is. But honestly, I don't know that I'd have anybody there's anybody out there more competitive than that guy is. I mean, he showed it right from the get-go, even when he wasn't a well-developed quarterback, right? I was up at Boston College when he won that game single-handedly with those runs. Yeah. And that to me and now he's added his skill set has improved so much, and he's added that on top of that competitiveness, just makes him that much better.
All right. So I'll go ahead, Curt.
Mark makes a compelling case. I don't disagree with pretty much everything you said. I'll say tangibles just from a standpoint of, beyond how he's grown as a passer and his ability there. I think his athleticism, I remember I tweeted last year, something to the effect of like, it's really fun when you're at opposing stadiums to hear opposing fan bases think they have a sack of Jordan Travis and he just escapes. His not only his speed, but I think really his acceleration, how he can quickly hit speed to get away from a pass rusher. We saw it how many times in that Florida game, probably 10 plus times last season. That to me, it separates him. Although I think that Mark made some great points about, Jordan's intangibles for sure.
Yeah, I think that Jordan could probably fake out his own shadow if he really wanted to. He has left a lot of people.
He is slippery.
He has left a lot of people looking for their jobs.
You know what? He reminds me a little bit of Charlie in that way, especially with his demeanor. Yep. And I was thinking about this, driving home today when we get ready to do this. This whole thing kind of reminds me of that 92-93 deal where Charlie struggled early in 92 and hit on something at the end when we, hit on the fast break, and offense was unstoppable. And then going into 93, a Heisman Trophy candidate, and with the skill set and, everything kind of setting up really nice. I'm not saying we're going to win the championship next year, but I'm saying that little transition kind of reminds me a little bit of Charlie, and that Jordan has that demeanor like Charlie has, just really calm under pressure, just really making plays under pressure, doesn't panic when things get tough, is very confident in his ability. All those things, to me, it's lining up that way, and it's hard not to get excited.
No pressure on the team.
No pressure. No pressure.
No pressure.
Just go win it, baby. Just go win it. Yeah, there's going to be some pressure on this team, and one of the reasons is they got Jordan Travis coming back. So
100%.
From who to whom much is given, much is expected, right? So all right. So listen, Jordan. This is one of the first years we really didn't have any questions about quarterback coming into last year, other than could there be a surprise in camp, which we didn't think there would be, and there was not. So there is no intrigue about the quarterback position. I think everyone associated with Florida State, from Mike Norvell to his football team, to anybody that follows Florida State, is probably happy about that. But you could have some great water cooler debate on where he ranks in returning quarterbacks. So I'm going to give you guys 10 names, not including him. And you tell me where he would rank in this group. And this is in no particular order, other than I'll start with the Heisman Trophy winner: Caleb Williams from USC, Derek May from North Carolina, Michael Penix from Washington, Bo Nix from Oregon, Jaden Daniels from LSU, Sam Hartman, now Notre Dame, Grayson McCall, Coastal Carolina, Cam Rising, Utah, J.J. McCarthy, Michigan, and let's go with Dylan Gabriel, who we've seen him play against. I think, and that would be, those are 10 quarterbacks coming back. How many of those guys, maybe it's the easiest way to ask this question, how many of those guys would you place in front of him?
If you're talking how many would I place in front of him in this offense and how they built this offense around him, it might be just Caleb Williams. Okay. Like, honestly, I mean, I think it's hard to say he deserves to be ahead of the Heisman winner, and I think Mike Norvell could do some really cool things with Caleb Williams. I mean, he had a pretty stellar season, but I would take him, I think, over Drake May in this offense. I mean, Michael Penix is another interesting one. Those are probably the only three I'd really consider putting ahead of Jordan right now.
Okay, well, just in the pantheon of just how would you rank him total, and if it outside of the offense, just pure quarterback play?
Probably third.
Okay,
maybe fourth.
Okay, so that's about what I thought.
So you, as you go down that list, I start thinking about arm talent, and I know he's going to confuse Jordan Travis with Dan Marino, right? I mean, a lot of those guys on that list have tremendous arm talent. I remember watching Michael Penix spin it. Drake May can spin it. Caleb Williams can spin it. Sam Hartman can spin it. I mean, there's a lot of guys on that list that have really great arm talent and can place the ball really well. I think the X factor with Jordan is his competitiveness and his ability to escape. I don't think Caleb Williams nobody's as good a runner as him out of those guys. He's the best runner, escape artist for sure, and his improvisation is probably better than all of them. So where do you weigh one over the other? Like Curt said, Mike Norvell could probably do a lot of things with a guy like Caleb Williams or Drake May or Michael Penix. I mean, so I place Jordan probably just right there, 3, 4, 5 in there, just because they might have better arm talent, but he has the best escapability out of all of them. And really that, to me, puts him up maybe even a little bit higher, 2 or 3. I mean, that's what makes him special. Now when you go competitiveness, I wouldn't take him over anybody.
No. Yeah, I kind of tend to agree with you guys. I think he's top 3 or 4 coming back, regardless of whether it's the offense or just a top returning player. I certainly do. I do believe that. I do want to kind of have fun with this question. Let's assume that take out Jordan Travis out of this group, and I'll give you those same 10 guys, and I'll go to Curt's point. Out of the same 10 guys minus Jordan Travis, which of those quarterbacks would you think would be most fun to watch play in Mike Norvell's offense?
I mean, Caleb Williams
Yeah,
feels
okay.
like
I figured you were going to stick with that one.
Michael Penix also, though. I mean, all of them, but I think the fun thing with Mike Norvell, I mean, he builds his offense around what it does. He has had many years to build it around Jordan. I think he would have a lot of fun building it around those guys as well. I mean, Michael Penix, we forget, a Tampa Bay kid who was considering Florida State on signing day before going to Indiana.
All right.
Yeah.
Sully.
Go through that list again.
Caleb Williams, Drake May, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Sam Hartman, Grayson McCall, Cam Rising, JJ McCarthy, and Dylan Gabriel.
Wow. I mean, the only one to me would have to be Caleb Williams, I guess. Just because he does have a little bit of, but he's not as good a runner as Jordan, but he can improvise. Penix runs a little bit. I only watched him one or two times. I don't know that he's got the improvisational acumen that Jordan has. So, but either one of those guys, I just see.
All right. Well, I'm gonna give you a couple more questions.
Sam Hartman, just what he looks like with talent.
Well, and in a non-gimmick offense, I'm fascinated to see what he looks like.
Yeah, I had Hartman down just because I'd want to see what he could do with those many weapons and no delayed draw, whatever we're going to call that little running thing they do inside zone
draw.
read. Yeah, so I'd go there. Well, it's got a little draw type action to it. Delayed, whatever it is. All right, so let's just do some spears up, spears down, kind of like thumbs up, thumbs down. So if you agree, it's spears up. If you don't agree, it's spears down. ACC wins. Florida State wins the ACC championship next year. Is Jordan Travis sitting in New York for the Heisman Trophy presentation? Not winning, but sitting in New York City.
Oh yeah, spears up.
All right,
definitely.
Okay. All right. So that was. Yeah, I kind of agree. If they
because that means we've lost as many, 2 games maybe at the most. We might have lost to Clemson, but beat Clemson in the second game. That would be that scenario where we lose 2 games, maybe lose an LSU or something else down the line. But but if we do that, he's in.
Last question, and we'll end the quarterback preview for now. We'll come back and talk more about it in the spring. If Florida State is in the college football playoffs next year, is Jordan spears up, spears down? Yeah, Mark, we got to talk about it. Spring. Spring.
Yeah. All right, keep going.
If they're in the college football playoff, more likely that Jordan Travis has won the Heisman, or less likely?
More likely. The only way.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Curt.
No, yeah, the odds would be good that if Florida State is there, that Jordan probably won the Heisman. I mean, that's
So for me, like I said, he makes us a good team to a great team, and if he continues to improve and he does what we think he can do, then that means if we're in the playoff, that means that's what he did. So he would more likely than not, I think.
Okay. All right. So when was, in its totality, from Jordan to Brock, 4 deep, when was the last time you felt this positive about Florida State's quarterback room? Y'all both been following the program for a long time.
I mean, it's probably 2014, just because you knew what you had then in Jameis. I mean, the depth. I mean, Sean McGuire proved himself to, be somewhat Tate Rodemaker-esque, capable of winning you a game. I mean, Tate might have to do a little more before I'm willing to put him in that conversation with some of the games Sean McGuire won, like that Clemson game in 2014. But that's the first thing that comes to mind from my time. I only go back to 2008 of being around the program.
Okay.
I will say Chip Ferguson, Peter Tom Willis, Casey Weldon, Brad Johnson. That quarterback.
So you're going back to 1987, 88. Yep.
The year after Danny Mack. That was Chip, and each one of them started the next year. Chip, Peter Tom, then Casey and Brad.
Then that next group was Charlie, Danny Cannell, Marcus Alton, and I cannot.
No. It was Charlie, Cannell, Busby.
That's right.
Thad Busby and Kenny Felder. Jake
Yep.
Kennyfelder too.
That was a pretty
K-Rod.
good group. That was a
Yeah.
pretty good. All right. Well, listen, guys, don't want to belabor this any longer. We had a good, nice little conversation about the quarterbacks. It's going to be fun to watch them get started on March 6th. Curt's article is online. Please check that out. And, of course, we will have our defensive ends preview on Thursday, and we'll follow that up with not only we'll have the written preview plus the video preview. So we'll be back on Thursday or Friday with the video preview for defensive ends, and we'll be back 9 times with these spring football previews before FSU hits the field on March 6th. So thanks for joining us. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Curt. And we will talk to you soon on Seminole Sidelines.
Go Noles, baby.